Hi, I'm Jay Monte with True Fan Boxing. I'm joined by my colleague Sean Sullivan of Boxing Digest. Sean, this week tragedy in boxing happened. Edwin Valero committed suicide after killing his wife. Describe the downward spiral of Edwin Valero the last few months. It was kind of bizarre.
I think it sort of happened years ago, really. That's when it started. He had that motorcycle accident in 2001, got a hemorrhage in his brain, which forced him out of boxing in the United States in 2004. He failed the physical with the New York State Athletic Commission, and his career kind of got derailed for a little bit, and then he had to fight elsewhere. He went to the promotional outfit in Japan, and he was able, with his raw talent and power, he was able to become a two-division champion. His final record stands at 27-0, 27 knockouts, 100% knockout ratio. Mm-hmm. But really, there was a lot of things going on behind the scenes. He had drug and alcohol problems, spousal abuse. He was, which we alluded to in recent months, he was arrested for and detained, and they were sort of in the middle of dealing with that. Mm-hmm. And he was supposed to go to Cuba for some counseling. That didn't happen, right. And unfortunately, things spiraled this far.
Obviously, he was out of control the last days. We don't like to see that in boxing. Let's just change the subject here. We had a fight this past Saturday. Sergio Martinez, the next to crown from Kelly Pavlik. You were there. Describe the fight. It seemed like Kelly changed the momentum in the middle of the fight, but lost it.
Right, exactly. Kelly Pavlik, you knew from the first round on that he had the power to hurt Martinez and knock him out potentially. And then during those middle rounds, it seemed like that might be the direction where the fight was headed. But Martinez really, in the ninth round, just turned the whole fight in his favor. The first 8 rounds, neither fighter were throwing that many combinations, maybe a 1-2 at best, but they were just throwing their best punch. Pavlik the right hand, Sergio the left. But in the ninth round, Sergio just upped his game tremendously, throwing 3, 4, 5 punch combinations, primarily getting Pavlik with the left hand, and he opened a cut first in the first round, and then over his eye, and then there was a cut underneath the other eye in the ninth round, which Pavlik really never recovered from.
Last question on this. Do you think that the cuts affected? Obviously, they did affect Pavlik.
Absolutely.
But if a lot of people are criticizing the corner, is it justified?
To some degree. I don't think the corner cut man had as much to do with the victory as much as Martinez's game plan. Mm-hmm. I mean, yes, Pavlik's face was covered in blood. The rest of the last third of the fight. But really, it was Martinez's movement, his southpaw style, his speed. Really, the speed was the number one factor in his victory.
Okay. Well, coming up this weekend, we have a heavyweight tilt, and it's probably kind of something we haven't seen in a while, a very competitive one between Chris Arreola and Tomasz Adamek. How do you see this fight progressing? I like Adamek. What do you think?
I like Adamek too, and I think the viewers really should. This is a tremendous fight. It's not going to decide who's going to be the next contender for the crown or anything, but this is just going to be a tremendous slugfest. And you have two guys that come forward constantly. They're bombers. They go for the knockout. This is can't miss.
But the Adamek's a little more of a clever boxer, and that's why I like him in his fight. However, in his last fight against Jason Estrada, he was hurt a few times by Estrada, who doesn't really have a high knockout ratio. It's going to be interesting to see if Arreola could land a big one on him. If he does, it's going to be lights out.
I think Adamek, you're right, he does have more boxing skill than Arreola, of course. And I think he's going to be aware of Arreola's power, and I think he'll know how to circumvent that.
Okay. Another fight that's happening this week is across the pond. Carl Froch is taking on Mikkel Kessler in Denmark, which is Kessler's territory. Does that give him the edge?
I think it does. I think this. A couple of years ago, I would have said Kessler wins this fight going away, but judging by his past few performances, he hasn't really looked at the way he used to. He's kind of sluggish, and I think Froch, he's a determined guy. He knows how to come back from behind on points, as he's shown against Taylor and other fights. And this is, yet again, this is another fight. It's one of those fights, I can't really pick the winner.
I like Froch. Really. I just like because his experience. He has a little bit more experience than Kessler. And he's the kind of guy that could go on the road and win. I don't know if he'll win a decision. He might get jobbed out of a decision. But I look for him maybe to stop him late or on cuts or something.
Well, one thing's for sure is that both these guys are going to be gracious that they're fighting guys that they're not going to be hard to find.
Right.
Because in their previous fights, you had Kessler versus Andre Ward and Froch versus Andre Durrell, both guys who were movers and jabbers, where these guys are the opposite of that. They just come forward just like Arreola and Adamek. And so it's going to be a similar fight.
Interesting enough. Well, that's this weekend, what's going on in boxing. For Sean Sullivan of Boxing Digest, I'm Jay Monte, True Fan Boxing. Be there in the square. Take care.